We're continually getting asked in the progressive and unlimited success communities, who inspired Mark and myself? Who were our mentors? Who, when we started out, really helped us grow our property and personal development businesses, our wealth and our relationships with people? We decided to do something I don't think I've never seen it being done, we've certainly never done it before, which was to, over a period of time, track down many of our mentors and people we really look up to. These people have helped us so much, but because they're either billionaires or worldwide celebrities, or some of them non-household names, they're very hard to track down, certainly aren't really always that comfortable with having a camera in their face. But we've done some amazing things and really pulled out the stops for you. So we've got a little bit of a series for you. Dr. John DeMartini has been an inspiration and a mentor for me for a decade. As long as I've been in property business and personal development, I've had Dr. John on the audio, reading all of his books, doing all of his courses, studying everything I can on him. And he's one of the men I would attribute the most to helping me in my personal development journey, growing as a person and getting better relationships with people. And I'm amazed how many people haven't really heard of him or aren't familiar with his work. He's actually written over 40 published books in 29, I believe, different languages and countries on growth, human potential, human development. And he is regarded as one of the geniuses in human potential. He was also on The Secret, which is a very famous documentary on the law of attraction. So come down and sit with me. You're going to love this interview. Hello, it's Rob Moore here from Progressive Property and Unlimited Success, and we're in a beautiful library location in the Bloomsbury Hotel. And I'm really honoured and privileged and also very excited to be sitting here and meeting Dr. John DeMartini. So
it's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, you too. And thanks for taking the time to do this interview. Now, I've been studying Dr. DeMartini for probably 10 years now. Been really inspired by his work. It's certainly helped me in my business and personal life, relationships, financial area of my life. And I really see him as a mentor of mine. And I'm very excited to be here. So thank you again.
Thank you.
And we've collated some questions from our community. Thousands of our community members are really excited that I'm here and can't wait to see the interview and the answers to the questions. And what we've done to serve the community best is collated some of their questions because I didn't want it to all be about me. So if you're ready, should we start?
Absolutely.
Great, thank you. So the first question is, how did you start in the world of what many people deem as personal development or self-improvement? How did you get into that world?
I was a high school dropout.
Okay.
I was living in Hawaii as a surfer in a tent, and I nearly died. And a lovely lady found me in my tent, nearly dead, and helped me recover, led me to a little health food store to get some food in me. And on leaving that store, I saw a little flyer on a door, and it was introducing Paul Bragg at a Sunset Recreation Hall on the North Shore of Oahu. And I, for some reason, intuitively said, I need to go to this. And I never went to seminars before. That was not something I did. And I attended this little class with 35 other people on a wooden floor like this floor. Mm-hmm. And that one night, that one man in 1 hour with his one message spoke to me in such a way that he made me believe that I might be able to do more with my life than I was doing. He made me believe that I could be intelligent. Mm. Now, up until then, I had learning problems. I had a speech impediment and dyslexia, and had dropped out of school and had never read a book from cover to cover. So that night when I met him, I had I don't know how to describe it, but I guess you could call it an epiphany of some form, that I saw a vision about me being intelligent. And when I thought of intelligence, I thought of teacher. So I had a dream that night to want to learn everything I could, learn and overcome my learning problems and learn how to read and become a teacher, and to do what this man had done for me that night to as many people as I could around the world. And I want to travel the world. So that was the beginning of my journey. Mm-hmm. And that led me to eventually go back to the United States, the mainland as they called it, and start my journey in learning how to read. So I started reading a dictionary and learning 30 words a day until my vocabulary grew. And then I was on a quest for knowledge that I had missed out on all those years. And I just have never stopped since. So 43 years ago, I had that happen and I've dedicated my life to researching everything I can to maximize human behavior and help people do extraordinary things. So I've been doing that ever since. So I've been speaking and professionally speaking now since I was 18.
You must have seen many recessions and many things happening over nearly 5 decades.
Yeah, I have been blessed to see some patterns and cycles that I've seen in the economic markets.
Sure.
But I'm really certain now that deep inside every human being is an extraordinary person, a genius, one who's capable of doing amazing things. And there's nothing more inspiring for me, and I'm sure for you, to make the difference of helping them recognize their magnificence and helping them bring their special gift to the world.
Sure.
So I can't think of anything else I'd rather be doing.
You mentioned about learning, and someone convinced you that you could learn and then become a teacher, and it got me thinking about the born versus learned debate, if you like. Now, it's actually not on the question, so maybe we shouldn't spend too long on it, but with your belief that there's a genius in everyone, which I've learned from you and I believe too, if anyone feels that they don't really have that inside them or that they weren't born that way, do you have any words of maybe help for someone like that?
Well, every human being, regardless of race, creed, color, age, or sex, lives by a set of priorities, a set of values. And whatever's highest on their value, they're spontaneously inspired from within. They're very committed and very diligent to fulfill that. And if they set goals that are in alignment with that are congruent with that, they tend to wake up that genius. But if they subordinate to other people because of comparison and think that others have something they don't, and they minimize themselves in relativity, and they cloud their clarity of their own mission because they keep trying to be somebody they're not. And this makes them hold back their genius until they're ready to see how magnificent they are from within. So we're not here to live in the shadows of anyone, we're here to stand on the shoulders of giants. Right. And the second we give ourselves permission to do that and no longer subordinate to outside world and let the voice and the vision on the inside become louder than all those opinions on the outside, we begin to master our life and let it out.
Sure. I train a lot of people who are looking to get into business and property. And a consistent theme I find from the same person learning the same thing from the same city, one succeeds and flies and one doesn't, is a deeper reason. Some people call it a why, a vision. And it's consistently a thing over time that seems to be the core difference. How can someone find that or awaken that? Because a lot of people don't understand it, do they, or know that it's there?
Well, again, this is the related to the values again. Since every human being has a unique set of values, they're so used to subordinating to other people. Kohlberg, the psychologist, said that most people subordinate to individual authorities or collective authorities. And as a result, if they don't become the authority. But each person has a set of values. So I developed a methodology, a 13-questionnaire, step-by-step process to help a person identify what that is. And whatever's highest on their value, in the list of values, is their mission. It's what their life revolves around, what is sometimes called the calling and the inspiration, the purpose in life. So if they are subordinating to others, they'll cloud that. But if they find out what it is by doing the method, they can awaken it up. And the second they set sail in that direction, the second they chart a course as captain of the ship in that direction, they unveil that great inspiration that starts giving them the power to overcome challenges and obstacles to pursue greatness. So they have to be able to get congruent in order to wake that up. And so what I do is I help them identify what those highest values are with a series of questions, because their life is demonstrating it, because they keep going back to it. Even though they attempt to be somebody they're not, bang their head against the wall, that's only there to get them back onto being who they are. But they just keep holding on to fantasies of who they are instead of magnificence of who they are.
Sure. So there were a lot of questions about money and wealth, as you can imagine, in the community that we're in. And consistently came up was the mindset of being wealthy. So do you have any tips or conversations around having a wealthy mindset?
Well, since that's one of the talks that I'm doing this week.
And I'll be there tonight. So.
Yes, and I do that quite frequently. I'm working on another book right now for a government on that. Again, you'll hear a lot from me about values, because the cornerstone of human behavior revolves around them. everybody has a unique set of values. If they do not have a value on caring enough about humanity to serve humanity and to fill the needs of humanity so they have a source of income, if they do not have a value on refining their business and making it efficient so it maximizes profits, if they do not have a value on saving a portion of those profits and starting the seed of investment, the investment world, if they do not have a value on actually investing and start putting their money into either property and rental properties or development of property or possibly buying companies or commodities, if they do not have a value on that, and they do not have a value of accumulating money or having a cause for money, then the probability of them being financially independent is very low. Mm-hmm. And most people, when I ask them how many want to be financially independent, put their hand up. Mm. But when I actually go in and look at their values are on purchasing immediate gratifying consumables and depreciables that go down in value. And they keep buying things that go down in value instead of buying appreciable things and assets that go up in value. Mm. So they're not going to get wealthy that way. Mm. So the person struggling with wealth, it boils down to a set of values and a set of priorities of what they're spending their money on. Mm-hmm. And the hierarchy of one's values dictates their financial destiny because it determines how they see the world, what decisions they make in the world, what they take actions on. And it's always determining what they do with their money. Sure. If they don't invest it, it's not working for them and they'll be a slave to money.
And is there any way they can change that or maybe move money or things that are relative to money higher?
Well, I created 6 steps to wealth for that reason. Because unless they have those 6 steps I just mentioned in their value system, it's not likely for them to be independently wealthy. And these are the things that I found in almost every billionaire that I've ever interviewed. And these 6 steps, building a business that serves vast numbers of people, managing a business where it's manageable for profits, saving a portion of the profits, investing the profits, accumulating wealth, and finding a cause that inspires you to go do that wealth for. If those aren't there, it's not going to happen. So I ask people to write down hundreds of benefits, literally stack in their brains benefits after benefits of doing those 6 things. And what will happen is it'll raise up higher on your value list. Because once it's higher on your value list, when the why's big enough, the how's take care of themselves. Sure. Once you have a big enough reason, a burning desire, as Napoleon Hill said, or a magnificent obsession, as Ed Tullison told me, for doing something, that's the calling. You'll do it. And you won't let anybody on the face of the earth stop you from it. So you have to have a big enough reason to save the money and invest the money greater than the reasons of spending it.
Sure. In the UK especially, there is a little bit of what we call in the UK a tall poppy syndrome around money, where a poppy that grows up gets a bit chopped down to size by the friends or family. And this has brought up a lot around other people, media, friends, family, colleagues at work, who maybe are a bit more negative towards our vision or destiny or wanting to make a better life. Do you have anything that you can help people with regarding dealing with what we might call negative people?
Well, it's essential that you have challenge in your life to grow. If somebody supported you at all times, you'd be a juvenile dependent. You wouldn't really have, you'd be enabled and basically a nobody. It's the challenges in life that actually to wake up your precocious independence and make an entrepreneur out of you. And the people that challenge you find out what you're made out of. So they're your gift, not your enemy. But I can tell you that if you have people that have a high value on wealth building and they meet you and they have a higher value on wealth building than you, they'll encourage you to grow your wealth. If you have a person that has lower value on wealth building and they meet you, they'll discourage you from doing it. And there's more people that do that than there are that build wealth, because you only have 1% that are financial independence and 99% that aren't. So if you let the people on the outside dictate how you feel and you give them power over your own vision, you'll hold yourself back. So you have to be able to realize that when people are challenging you, they're acknowledging you at the same time. They're saying that you're obviously reaching beyond their comfort zone and they're wanting to bring you back like the crabs in the bucket. They want to bring you back into their domain. But that's actually a thank you also, because that if you stay with that and you don't let them run you, you'll actually inspire them, and a few of them will actually come forward and want to follow in your footsteps. So I always say that go forward with it. But know that the overall economy will demand equanimity. And so what will happen is if we get in any way puffed up because we have wealth, it will awaken inside us as we accumulate wealth a philanthropic desire to want to go give back. And if we are somehow diminished in our financials, we'll end up waking up inside us a social welfare entitlement that'll want to take from people. So nature's redistributing wealth constantly, and when you pass, you're going to be redistributing the wealth somewhere. So my advice is to be thankful for the individuals that are wanting to call it, knock the puppy syndrome down, as they say. Yeah. Be thankful because they're your market. These are the people you'll be selling ideas and products to. If you go and care enough, as creative capitalism is implied, if you care enough about humanity to find out what their needs are, and with your wealth serve those needs, then they will be grateful for you to go and build your wealth because they'll be winning out of it. So find how you can help the person who's cutting you down to win out of you building wealth, and they'll join in.
Self-sabotage. In our world, I think a lot of people are awakened to the fact that one can get in one's own way. And common theme was self-sabotage, getting in my own way. Have you got any help you could offer people on self-sabotage?
Actually, I've never seen it happen. People use that term because they don't understand the language of human behavior, I think. Because when somebody's doing something, they only make a decision based on what they think is going to give them the greatest advantage over disadvantage. But in actuality, deep inside on an unconscious level, the thing that they think they're doing, that sabotage, is actually perceived inside them as more advantage than disadvantage. Let me give you an example. We had a gentleman that wanted to go and build his wealth. He reached about $200,000 net worth. And the second he got beyond that, every time he would do something beyond that, it would go back to $200,000. And what he had is a subordination to his father, and his father said anybody that makes more than $200,000 is automatically a thief or a crook. So he was proud of his father. He looked up to his father and injected the values of the father, put it into his system, and so had an internal conflict between his own goals and the people that he subordinated to. So he didn't want to displease his father, but he wanted to please himself. So he was striving for what he was doing to help himself, but he was actually trying to please his father at the same time. It wasn't until we actually took him through what I call the DeMartini method and dissolved the emotional attachment and infatuation with his father and put him back into equanimity, not up on a pedestal, that we freed that up, and he went from $200,000 to $1.8 million in less than a year. Because he was no longer trying to please two different value systems, his own versus somebody else's. So as long as we subordinate to people on the outside with different value systems, it will cloud the clarity of our own, and we'll label it sabotage, but it's actually attempts to complete trying to fulfill a lot of people's values and scatter ourselves. Wisdom is knowing what our values are and not attaching to other people's. But that's only going to occur as long as until we take them off the pedestal, it's going to keep occurring. You have to take them off the pedestal and actually put ourselves back in command. So what we call sabotage is actually a feedback mechanism to get us back to being our authentic self. And to help us clarify what's really important to us, not what we think is important to us.
Okay. Another question that came up a lot was the beliefs around money. And a lot of people say they don't blame as such, but my parents raised me like this. Money doesn't grow on trees. Money makes you a bad person, or you wouldn't want to be judged by someone, etc. And they display a set of beliefs that are completely contrary to building wealth and making income. Can you give us any tips on how you might be able to address those beliefs and see it from maybe a different belief?
Well, it's similar to the question before, because if you look very carefully at a young child to its parent, if it depends on its parents and the parents say, no, don't do that, it will take that on if it's afraid of losing its parents' contribution and help. So it'll believe some of the things the parent says and other things it will defy and say, no, I don't believe that because I'm not afraid of defying my parents there. So it'll take on some and it'll defy others. So we take on belief systems at certain moments in our life based on what we think will give us advantages over disadvantages in that moment. And then we accumulate them. And they end up going into our subconscious, you might say. And those subconscious surface as we're pursuing our dreams, and they come up. But the only reason they're there is because at one moment in our life or another, we subordinated to the necessity of those individuals and put them above us, and we depend on them. So what I do in that case is I go and I make a list of all the people. First, we identify what those beliefs are. They surface quite often. We hear them in our heads. We identify where they come from, who are the sources. And then we go in there and do what I call the DeMartini method on those sources. and go in and find out whatever we think they have, where do we have it? As long as we think they have something we don't, and we minimize ourselves to them and think that they had more wealth or more intelligence or more success or something that we did, we're going to give them power to influence our value system, and we'll inject those values into our life and confuse our own self and have conflicting value systems and belief systems. When we're setting goals that are aligned with our highest value, we have incredible belief in our capacities to achieve. When we set our values, if we try to inject the values of other people and they don't match our own values, we have conflicting beliefs that emerge. So the key is not subordinating to other people. First, identifying what the beliefs are, identifying who they came from, dissolving your infatuation and attachment to those people, and then giving yourself permission and setting yourself free of those belief systems and going on. But those belief systems are simply injections of people that we've subordinated to.
Final question, and this is all around influence. In the world of property and business, obviously we're trying to attract staff and customers. We're trying to raise finance for our businesses or properties. We maybe have staff that we want to kind of do more of what we want to do with our vision. So have you got any help on how to influence people and inspire people to ultimately help us get what we want in our life?
Well, when I was about 20 or 21 years old, I met Zig Ziglar. And Zig Ziglar gave me a thing that went in my head and it's never left. And that was that if you help enough other people get what they want to get in life, you get what you want to get in life. So that means it boils down to values again. Every human being has a unique set of values. Whatever their highest value is what they're dedicated to. If you help them by caring about them enough to find out what their highest value is, establishing those needs, and then do what you can to help fulfill those needs, they'll come online. Charisma is not something a person holds. Charisma is what somebody perceives about that person when that person is helping them fulfill their values. So if you help people fulfill their values, they think you're charismatic because they feel that they're yearning to that. They want that. So they're drawn to a person that helps them do that. So if a person is in business, so often entrepreneurs emerge and they get a great idea and they project their values onto the marketplace, think that people want what they want to give, and don't meet the needs of the people and then flounder. But the second they identify what's really in the needs of the people and care enough about humanity to find out what those needs are and then provide the product, service, or idea to meet those needs, there's now a demand and not necessarily an oversupply. Otherwise, you're projecting oversupply and trying to meet a demand and trying to sell it, and you're creating overheads with marketing and advertising and stuff. Because when you really meet the needs, the demand comes into you. And you don't need to sell. It comes to you. That's a sign that you've met people's needs. There's a demand.
And finally, because I've been inspired by your work for a decade, I'd love others to be inspired too. Where should they go if they want to learn more from you, or maybe books and audios, anything like that?
Well, I think probably the simplest way to get a hold of me is to go to my website, drdemartini.com, drdmartini.com. And on there's a lot of information. There's radio, television, newspapers, magazines, articles, inspirational writings, products, where I'm talking, speaking, all kinds of things, and YouTube channels. And so I think that's probably the best way. I just received a letter just 10 minutes before I came down here from a gentleman in the Netherlands who's apparently spent spending a whole year just studying the website.
Well, because it's all free.
just studying that. And he wrote me a letter, a beautiful letter, saying that thank you for all the information. It's helped his life. I mean, that's what it's all about, is trying to help other people. So the website is probably the best thing to do, or maybe a Facebook inspirational message each day that I do that.
Sure. Dr. DeMartini, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.